and what is up? I am back for part 2 of my labor and delivery story. I now have birds, so you're going to hear them in the background. The video is going to be specifically about my postpartum experience and the recovery, how it all went, all the nitty-gritty. So when I left off, I was mentioning how the midwife is basically pushing on my chest in order to help get this baby out. Nurses were chaotic and screaming, "Oh my God, he's so big, he's so big. There was no way he was gonna come out." And then finally we get to the point where he's out. So my son was born 9 pounds exactly. And I don't know about y'all, but 9 pounds is pretty big. He was huge. I mean, when I saw him, he looked like not a newborn. He had a head full of hair and he was just kind of heavy. I remember as soon as he was born, they kind of took him off the table and kind of got him into his little station, wiped him off, did all the things like they needed to do, and then asked my husband to come over and cut the umbilical cord. And when they're pulling my son away, I can see like a little glimpse of him, but I didn't really get to see him. It wasn't until they were finished with all of that stuff that they finally let me see him, but I just was in so much shock about what had happened that I really wasn't even taking it in, to be honest with you. Right after that, pretty much, they went ahead and sent my husband over to the recovery room while they were sewing me up, and not sewing me up, but closing me up, whatever they were doing. I think I had like seamless stitches, or like they glued me back together. I didn't have staples, I know that much. I was in the operating table and they were finishing me up. And I just remember they were talking, the doctors, about their divorce, music, all this stuff, just like casually having conversations about travel and everything. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, no biggie, my guts are just out everywhere. But yeah, you guys keep talking about all the fun you guys are having. After that, after they finished me up, they took me over to the recovery room. And I remember there was 2 young nurses and my husband was there with the baby. And the nurses were kind of working on the baby and doing all these things. And then suddenly they they look at me and they're like, "Okay, Mom, you ready to nurse?" And in my head, I'm like, what? Like, I just finished having this baby and you want me to breastfeed it? Like, I don't know how to breastfeed. I've never done this before. And I remember that one of the nurses just kind of helped me latch him on. And let me tell y'all, that was such a freaking shock to my system, because I don't know if any of you know, any of you who have breastfed before obviously know, but those who have not, that hurts. It hurts like really bad. Their first latches, their first feedings are so painful, and no one told me about that. No one told me how painful it was. I just remember being so shocked at how much it hurt. Like you see these pictures of mothers feeding their babies and it looks so calm and so serene. And I'm telling you, it did not feel that way. It was really cool and surreal when I looked at him feeding, and I just was like in so much shock, like, oh my goodness, like this is my baby. Like I am feeding my baby out of my breast. What is happening? And I remember he was on there for like a good 10 or 15 minutes, and just like looking at him, and honestly my son, when he was first born, looked so much like his father that I was like, I don't even know if this baby's mine. Like I really couldn't connect the dots of this baby being my child, because he looked nothing like me. He looked more Asian. My husband's not Asian. You guys have seen him in videos, but like, I don't know, he didn't look like me. This baby looked nothing like me, and I was like, I just don't feel like this is my child, but he's on me and they're saying he's mine. We're just like being so kind of like distraught, like having mixed feelings, because a lot of women, when they're talking about their birth stories, they mention like as soon as the baby comes out, they feel this sudden connection and like everything was worth it. And I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that connection. I didn't feel that, oh, he's here. I felt betrayed. I felt lied to. I felt sad, I don't know how to explain it. He's behind me, if you haven't noticed. You can't see him, but he's making all kinds of noise. Anyway, yeah, it was just like really hard for me because I was expecting to have like that sudden flush of like love and emotion and connection, and I really didn't experience any of that. Really, what I experienced is a refusal to believe that he was actually here and that it was actually mine and that I was actually a mom. Like, I still couldn't connect the dots. And anyway, before I get too long, we were in the recovery room for a little while they were working on getting me a room upstairs, and finally they were able to get me a room. And I remember that they had to kind of they took my hospital bed and rolled it upstairs, but when they were getting me onto my bed in my room, my husband and the nurse had to kind of finagle me, like move the sheets from one bed to the other with me on top of it. And that was just strange. Like, I couldn't really move. I was pretty weak. I had just gotten out of a huge surgery. No one talks about it, but C-sections are major surgeries. And what's mind-boggling about it is, like, you have this major surgery and you're expected to immediately care for a living being. I mean, I'm telling you, literally 20 minutes after I gave birth and was all sutured up, I had to breastfeed, not even knowing how to do it, but you know, it's like, oh, here you go, you magically are a mom, go take care of your child. But anyway, I couldn't really do much for myself. I remember my husband just like feeling really bad that he hadn't slept, so when nighttime came, I told my husband that he could sleep and that I would try to take care of the baby as best as I could. And they had the baby in a bassinet right next to me, but for some reason, I guess I didn't really know how bad off I really was. When I tried to pick up my son that first night, I accidentally pulled my shoulder, like really bad, like extreme pain as soon as I made that movement. And I remember the next day or in the middle of the night telling the nurse, like, hey, I think I pulled it. Like, is there some cream you can put on or like a painkiller you could give me? And they made a whole big deal out of it. Said that I had to speak with the doctor just so that they could make sure. Just, they made a big deal out of something that didn't need to be a big deal, really. That first night I couldn't eat. I was so hungry and I wanted to eat so badly, but I couldn't eat. The next morning, I finally was able to eat, and I remember I had, I think, like scrambled eggs, and I can't remember the rest, but I remember during pregnancy, I could not stand eggs. Like, something about it was just so disgusting. But for some reason, that first meal, when I had them eggs, let me tell you, they were some of the most, I don't want to say delicious because they weren't delicious, but it was like the most satisfying meal I had had in a while because I was just like so hungry. And after that, I wanted eggs a lot, surprisingly. But I just remember like having to latch on my son so many times to my breast and just feeling like, oh my goodness, like, why doesn't anybody talk about this? Like, they lied to me. They lied to me. They didn't tell me that breastfeeding was this hard. It felt like every hour or two, he was on my breast. And anytime he cried, my husband would say, oh, honey, I think he's hungry. And I would get so angry and say, no, he can't be hungry. He can't be hungry. And I spent about 3 or 4 days in the hospital. And I remember, like, during the day, I was okay, like, you know, able to kind of do things. And my husband would help me. But for some reason, whenever the night would hit, like, I would just turn into a crying mess. And I just could not control my emotions. And my husband would ask me, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'd be like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. And it was just like really strange. And in this video, I'm not really sharing like too much about the experience because honestly, after I gave birth, it's kind of a blur. I just remember these things that no one told me about. And so I feel this strong urge to share with others because I don't want people to feel like they have no idea what to expect, or if they're feeling what I felt, it's not normal. It's completely normal, but people don't talk about it. So I feel like because the hospital was so filled, I guess, that the nurses kind of were on edge. And I remember that with one of my nurses, I felt like there was a tension, and I really felt like the doctor wasn't listening to me, and like this nurse had an attitude with me. And I just remember like by the second day, feeling so overwhelmed and so unheard and so misunderstood that I just started crying to her and started crying in front of her. And she's like, what's wrong? And I was like, no one's listening to me, and I don't know, and this is so hard. And like, you know, like you can't even shower, you can't even poop. Like, you can't even do anything without help from anyone, without being in pain, without being in danger of falling, or all these things. And after that, I remember that she kind of changed. She became more gentle with me and more understanding. And like, you know, I just want to encourage moms, like, if you're not feeling heard, speak up. It's hard, but you have to. It's important that you feel heard and you feel cared for, especially because like your hormones and your everything is just such a sudden shift that you need to be making sure that people are there helping. But I remember by like the third day, going on the fourth, with my shoulder issue, the doctor saying, oh, we need to do an x-ray, we need to have you see an orthopedic surgeon, and I'm gonna probably keep you here one more day. And I just like was at my wit's end, and I was like, I cannot stay here another day, like I want to go home. I remember they did the x-ray and I was like, I don't need this, I just need a cream, like I don't know, and they did it anyway. And I remember a little bit afterward, on the fourth day, the doctor came in, the orthopedic surgeon, and he looked at me and I was like, look, I don't know why you're here, like no one's listening to me, you know I just pulled my shoulder, I didn't break it or anything, I know I just pulled it and I probably could just use a cream. And he's like, look, I'm here to listen to you and I'm here to help you, and if I can help it, you'll be out of here today. And I am just so thankful, because that was the only doctor that listened to me, and because of him, I was able to finally get out on the fourth day. So I went in on a Wednesday night, and I did not leave until Sunday afternoon. And when we finally got home, I remember one of my friends was selling a rocking chair, and so she dropped it off that same day. And I remember my parents coming in the next day and just like kind of being really weak, like being really kind of just like walking slowly and just like kind of being quite weak. So much so that my dad told my mom to take the day off the next day from work so that she could come and help me, because he was just so worried about the fact that I was so helpless. Hospital, I exclusively gave breast, and I just felt like I wasn't producing enough. And I finally, you know, gave him that formula, and it really helped me. My sister ended up giving me some of her milk, and I was using my milk, pumping my milk, and you know, it was really helpful. But now in you know, retrospect, 2020 vision, it was probably just cluster feeding. It's very normal for new babies to just want to feed all the time. It's how they get your body to, you know, make your supply enough for them. And if I were to have another child, I would probably hold back from introducing a bottle so early, just because it can cause some nipple confusion and cause them to reject breastfeeding at the breast. So many things that I wish I would have known, especially about breastfeeding. And if you want me to make a video about that, just let me know, because I'd be happy to. This is just my hope that if there's any expecting mamas, that they know that it's okay if you don't feel that sudden gush of emotions, that it's okay if you have a C-section, that it's okay if you don't feel that sudden attachment to your baby, that it's okay if when the sun goes down, all you want to do is cry, that it's okay if you don't want to breastfeed, that it's okay if you do want to breastfeed. Everything is okay and you're gonna be all right, mama. That is my real message here in this video. By the second or third day when I was in the hospital, being able to walk around the wing and the nurse being really happy with my progress. So my recovery was actually faster than a lot of other people, but it was still painful. And so I want to say to all other moms, C-section moms especially, you are brave, you're tough, you're special, you're awesome, and you're warriors. And so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up because my baby has had enough. He wants out. He wants to go for a walk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys were able to relate in some ways. If you haven't seen my first video, definitely go watch that. It has a lot more action. Anyway, if you guys want to see any other content, please be sure to let me know. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and take care. Bye.